and joking too. Sipping and roasting is what we do. Light 'em up, drink 'em down. Whiskey and cigars all around. Cheers, y'all.
Well.
That's such a welcome sound.
Welcome, my friends. Well, it's a welcoming sound. It's designed to welcome people once again to our little radio program called Smokin' and Toastin'. We are all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. And hearing the well in the echo. I like that. Welcome to show number 133, live from B&B Lemon. We've talked a lot about B&B Lemon on the show, but we've never actually come here to do a live broadcast until today. So we are live on Facebook. If you're checking us out on Facebook, by the way, please do share it with your friends. And quite frankly, even if you're checking us out after the fact, please share it with your friends.
Absolutely.
We appreciate that. Today's show is number 133. We will be talking about signature cocktails at B&B Lemon, and Chastity will be joining us. Chastity is the head bartender here at Lemon, and she'll be serving up some fine cocktails. They already
we don't know what we're bringing.
They already said some title of a cocktail. Oh, we got to do that one. So they have an idea of where they're headed, but I don't know exactly what it's going to be. So we'll just look forward to that, and she'll explain it in due time. B&B Lemon, by the way, we're brought to you by B&B Butchers and Restaurant. We're right across the street from the 1814 Washington Avenue location. They're also in the shops at Clear Fork in Fort Worth. And then we're here at B&B Lemon, which, again, is right across the street from the Houston B&B location, and is something of a how would you describe it? It's kind of pub-like. It's kind of
it's like a B&B take on a pub. So you get your high-end cocktails and drinks and stuff. It's not a dive bar by any means.
Yeah, it's very friendly, very welcoming.
Food's great.
Not a dive bar, and I think you'll get that impression once we start talking specialty cocktails that this is definitely not a dive bar. But
we just found out that they have a brunch now too.
Oh yes, that's on,
they just
on the weekends,
the
right?
Yeah, a few weeks ago. And I have an example of the menu here, so we might have to read some of those things off.
Well,
maybe poetically.
Poetically, yes. Maybe you could read them. You know, like how they do mean tweets on late night TV. Maybe you could do it sort of like in a particular style or whatever. Yeah.
I was thinking more like more beatnik maybe.
Oh, I like that sort of a beat poet sort of a vibe. You've got a little bit of that air about you.
I need more small triangle goatee to make that happen, but I can do it.
But you've got the wireless mic, you've got the beat poet thing going, so it could work. It could work. B&B Lemon is a nice small establishment. It's not the regular B&B restaurant's pretty big, but B&B Lemon is small, and so it's a very cozy sort of place to come and drink and enjoy some cocktails, and of course the bar is well equipped, just like at B&B. So it's a so it's a good situation.
They got this covered patio outside with the heaters and everything. So.
Yep. So we'll be talking cocktails. We'll be smoking some cigars. I see you've got one of my favorites in your hand there.
Well, I don't know where I got this cigar. It isn't AJ Fernandez.
Yeah, I don't know. I wonder where that might have come from.
No, this is the one you laid on me earlier. So, I figured I'd try this. I haven't tried the New World by AJ Fernandez. It looks fantastic.
I think you'll enjoy that.
The construction on this looks amazing. It's just it's kind of a dark chocolatey brown. It's
definitely
very box press, very square-edged kind of box press, which just looks super well made.
Yeah, and
nice and firm all the way around.
While you were admiring that earlier, I used that opportunity to sneak a cigar out of your little La Palina travel humidor.
Just like one of the cigars I had in my little La Palina travel humidor.
One of the cigars you had in your La Palina travel humidor. This is the Southern Draw Soli Deo Gloria. Did I say that right? Soli Deo Gloria.
I believe so.
All right.
And
it's
that is the Cedrus.
Yes. Yeah. Or Cedrus? Is it Cedrus or Cedrus?
Cedrus, I think.
All right. Cedrus.
Cedrus, I don't know.
All I know is you smoked it and talked about it on the show before, and you actually raved about it.
I absolutely love that cigar. I've had quite a few of those since then. So.
I can tell you that the pre-light sniff on this thing is just absolutely
and that's
loaded with promise.
That's a unique cigar compared to what I normally get, because normally I'm dark chocolatey Maduro. Like that's just kind of where I live.
Kind of your neck of the woods.
That one is woody. I mean, it is deliciously woody.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm loving it already. Yeah, I'm loving it already. So a lot going on in the show. We're going to be trying some in addition to the signature cocktails from here at B&B, we're trying some very interesting beers. On the last several shows, we've tried a lager, and we're going to keep that trend going this week with a lager called Tropic Thunder. It's from our friends at Stone. And Stone, so known for their ales, particularly their IPAs. So it will be interesting to see Stone's take on a lager, and that's
it's going to be like the biggest lager ever.
It probably will be.
I mean,
now
it's
we
Stone.
had the was it the No Label lager on a couple of weeks ago, and that thing was just delicious. I mean, it was full and juicy and had a really nice hop balance to it. Not what you traditionally expect from a lager, and I think this is a real trend. We read a lot that in 2018 we were going to see a real sort of a push for lagers. I don't remember seeing as much of it as I was expecting, but now they seem to be, or maybe some of these have been around since middle of 2018, and they're just kind of coming into my view. I don't know.
Well, so I think the trend is that there's a lot more lagers. I think consumers have reached a point with their palate where they've had the biggest of the big, and they've had the macro brews and everything. And
right.
You want something that's a little more sessionable.
Doesn't it feel like people are looking for balance now?
Yeah, something a little more sessionable that you can have, a 6-pack over the course of a day and not be, walking at 45 degrees out the door.
And we've talked about the Lagunitas Daytime IPA.
Yeah, that's a
how
great
delicious it is and very crushable. I mean, it's fewer calories than a Bud Light.
I've actually bought quite a few 6-packs of that.
It's delicious delicious and lower calories. So
and
it's
I've got some. Last time I was in Austin, I've got some friends out there that do triathlons all the time, and they're always looking for a lower calorie drink. So I brought a 6-pack over to their place, and they were absolutely loving it.
Think about it, for just a few calories more than a Michelob Ultra and less than a Bud Light, you can enjoy an actual good-tasting, balanced IPA.
Yeah.
And that's what, and those guys don't sponsor us. It's just something we tried and we loved. So speaking of sponsors, though, before I get too far from this, B&B, we talk all the time about their bacon. We just tried, right before the show started, the Parmesan bacon appetizer.
That's like the third or fourth iteration of bacon they have.
Yeah, and here at B&B Lemon, and I'm just going to say it's just wrong. It's wrong on every level.
If it was half as good as it is, it would still be amazing.
It would still be awesome.
Like everything after half as good as it actually is wasted because it's just way too good.
Oh, I don't know if it's wasted because it's awesome. So we recommend that highly if you're here at B&B Lemon. So we are out on the porch here where we'll be able to enjoy a cigar in a few moments. But let me tell you about the rest of the beers. El Segundo Brewing from El Segundo, California. We'll be tasting a double IPA of El Segundo's called Surfin' Bird.
Surfin' Bird.
And it does have a bird on a surfboard on the label. Now, that doesn't bother me, but I will tell you this. I searched the label diligently before bringing it on the show to make sure it didn't say anywhere on the label, bird is the word. Because we're doing great, man. Thank you. Thanks, I absolutely hate that song. And I don't hate many songs. I really don't. I like to think of myself as very open-minded musically, but I hate bird is the word. I hate Hang On Sloopy. Stupidest song.
What about the
written.
Banana Fana Fofana song?
I'll even handle that. I'll even handle that. But no bird is the word. No Hang On Sloopy.
You had to hate that Family Guy episode where they kept going back.
Oh yeah. Oh, it was awful. It was awful. And so no bird is the word. No Hang On Sloopy, and nothing by Cardi B. Other than that, I'm pretty good. I'm easy. I'm easy. So anyway,
I was thinking, would we sound more modern if we just ran both of these mics through auto-tune at all times?
Oh yes, especially yours because you've got the wireless adapter there, and we could just go right into the auto-tune and then right out.
By wireless adapter, what he really means is that there's no wire attached to my microphone.
Yeah. See, whereas I am connected to the world with my wire here.
By connected, he means tied down like a slave.
Pretty much like that. From Fort George Brewing, Ian, I have brought something that I'm really excited to be able to spring on you. It's the Russian Imperial Stout from Fort George Brewing, which is Astoria, Oregon, and it's called From Astoria with Love.
That's awesome.
Yes, and so I'm really looking forward to that. So we got a lot to talk about. Cigar smoking competition was just held. They did not break the record. the FDA has proposed new guidelines for introducing new cigars, and Beverly Hills. I'm so excited about this. Do you remember we talked on a show a couple of shows ago about how Beverly Hills was banning sales of all tobacco products, and this would mean that our friends there at the Cigar Lounge, where we did the live show in Beverly Hills, would have to close. Beverly Hills has now voted to exempt cigar lounges from the tobacco sale ban.
Somebody in California actually saw reason.
So the Buena Vista Cigar
There's
Club...
hope for life, yeah.
Yep, the Buena Vista Cigar Club will remain open, because outside of the Buena Vista Cigar Club and a couple of other locations, it's like Ian always describes when you're trying to smoke in California.
It's easy. You don't smoke anywhere outside or inside.
Yeah.
Everywhere else, not a problem.
You're all good. Yeah, absolutely. So anyway, we'll have the story for you, and we'll be talking with Chastity, who I saw already brought some delicious looking cocktails out. Woo,
like we're looking at them from across the patio, and they look amazing.
So I tell you what we'll do. We'll take a quick break. We'll light up our cigars, and we'll get ready to talk to Chastity about some cocktails here live at B&B Lemon. This is Smoking and Toasting. It's show number 133, Signature Cocktails, and we're going to try to get Chastity to tell us how to make these. So we'll see if we can create these at home.
Pry some of the secrets out of her.
Yeah, she's already laughing like, you're not going to make this at home. We'll be right back at Smoking and Toasting. Welcome back at Smoking and Toasting. It's show number 133. We are live at B&B Lemon, which has been open less than a year. Chastity, how long? When did it open?
November.
November.
Beginning of November.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. So I came here, and I've mentioned this on the show before. I came here once in the middle of winter. My good friend Dave was here visiting, and we were looking for a place to go and just grab something to munch on and grab a drink or two. And we wound up over here, and at that time, we didn't come outside because it was really cold that day. But outside the window, we could see this little lemon tree with a huge lemon on it.
One lemon.
And it made me so hopeful. There was something about it that just spoke to the fact that the cold weather would be over soon, and
that one's got one on it over there.
Yeah. Oh, does it? Oh, sure does. All right. Well, this is good. So, Chastity, welcome to the show.
Hi.
Have you been here since B&B opened?
Yes, I have.
And you are the main bartender in charge. Is that correct?
Yes. I am actually the face of BB Lemon, as Ben Berg calls it.
All right. Well, that works. That totally works. Well, so you can come in now. You know her by name, so you can walk in and go, Chastity, and make her think, who is this person? Do I
My
know
hair
this
may be
person?
different.
Do I know them?
Yeah. So, Chastity, were you involved with creating the drinks on the menu, or was that already created and you had to come in and learn how to make them?
So these were created by Monique Hernandez, our beverage coordinator. I actually worked with her previously at our last job, Field and Tides, where she was also a beverage coordinator, and she is perfect at what she does. She does classic cocktails and puts little spins on it.
I just want to point out that my guidance counselor in school never mentioned the words beverage coordinator. Never came out of her mouth.
I didn't even see that in college.
No, and I'm still a little bitter about it. I have to be honest.
You can make it a thing.
So Chastity, how I love to try to mix drinks at home, and some of my drinks are okay, and some of them are not nearly as good as what you make.
I just want to pause this. I've gotten really good at mixing drinks at home. I start with whiskey, and sometimes I add water or ice.
Okay.
And it turns out great every time.
Okay. All right, so I'm with you there. I totally am. But when trying to make something like why can't I make is that a mojito?
That is not a mojito. There's our Uptown Kiss.
It looks. I'm sorry. What?
Uptown Kiss.
All right. Well, I can't make a. We'll get to that, but I can't make a good mojito to save my life.
Songs.
Like I really want to. Be, what is there a secret? And is it following recipes exactly? Is that what the secret is?
That
really?
is very. Monique is very, very specific about her craft cocktails being very spot on, very consistent, and you have to be very precise with them.
Okay, so let's start with the Uptown. What is it?
The Uptown Kiss.
Uptown Kiss. What is in this exactly? And it does look exactly like a mojito visually, right?
Okay, so like I said, she does a spin on classic cocktails. So that's like a spin on the classic Tom Collins. So you have Tito's vodka. You have our homemade almond syrup, which is our orgeat, crushed mint, and a little bit of Topo Chico, and a splash of citrus.
All right, so let's back up. Here's why I fail with cocktails. Homemade almond syrup?
Yeah.
How the hell do you make homemade almond syrup?
It's a process.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
You blanch almonds.
You blanch the almonds and crush them up, and then
you blanch them in the
put
pot.
them in a food processor. What do you do? Really? Wow.
Literally
now,
that.
Does this need to be sipped through the straw, or can I pour some in a glass and get the same?
I would probably say sip it through a straw because we shake it and then we.
And then that's how it has to be tried. Then.
And so this is most similar to a Tom Collins.
Yes.
What we might know.
All
right, Ian, go for it.
No, you go for it. I'm gonna go find a straw.
Oh, he's gonna find a second
probably
straw.
should have done that.
That's all right. That's all right. We'll make it. So, do you make these one glass at a time?
Absolutely.
Okay, and is that true for all your signature cocktails? All right, and is there anything about that that's important? In other words, could we make a picture of these if we got the recipe right, or does it really need to be one in the glass?
You probably could make a batch, but it's just our crafting and making it one by one makes it very special.
You're used to this specific sort of way that it's balanced. And I would say that probably, like anything, it comes with practice, too. Like the more you make this, the better you'll do.
And it's pretty.
And it's beautiful, yeah. This huge sprig of mint here.
Are we going to do this at the same time?
No, you go for it
like
first.
A cute milkshake.
Yeah.
What's the lady in the tramp?
That's right. You go for it first.
It's a very refreshing cocktail.
Wow, that is like outside on a summer day right there.
Exactly that.
I love the mint just follows through. And it's not too sweet either.
Nope.
No, the Topo Chico gives it that wonderful sort of thirst-quenching bubbliness, but it's got just a wonderful, like you said, the mint follows the flavor and stays with it. Do you muddle any mint in this, or do you just stick it in the top?
Well, you slap it, to get the oils out, then you shake it.
Shake it. Wow. And you use the super crushed ice, so it's super cold.
Yes, what people call the good ice.
So let me ask you about this. Like a lot of times when I will be out having drinks, I'll go for a whiskey or a tequila or a rum, because I wind up sipping those and it moves slower. With this is so delicious. Like I want to just drink the whole thing.
I've seen people just chug that thing like it's water.
So how much alcohol? You said Tito's vodka. How much is in this? Like, in other words, if I had two or three of these, would I? Yeah.
If you have 2 or 3, you should be fine.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not mixing them real heavy.
No, they're not really heavy.
Because I don't really taste a lot of vodka in there. I'm tasting the.
No, there's enough to let you know that
it's
it's there, but it's not.
Right.
It's not real heavy.
Yeah.
Which I
if
think
you had
a
our
lot of
Manhattan,
times,
then you may be on your butt.
Right. Well, I think a lot of times a drink like that's a good one to go in on, because you can have a few more that way rather than just two. And
it's a very good point.
And we're in Houston, Texas, so it's always hot, most likely. So.
I was going to say this must be hugely popular, or will be in the summer, because this will be your first summer open, right?
Absolutely. This is one of our most popular cocktails on our menu.
I believe it. That's delicious. The Uptown
Kiss.
Uptown Kiss. Well, that totally works.
I totally want
works.
to sing the Billy Joel song.
Yeah. All right. So I tell you what. Let's do. Let's try one more in this segment, and then we'll take a break. We'll come back and keep Chastity over a little extra time here. Now this one looks like it's in a martini glass.
A coupe, old school coupe.
Old school coupe. Thank you. What is this with the twist of lemon we see on the side?
So that is our Belle of the Ball, probably our number one selling cocktail.
That's what you guys mentioned when we talked about it earlier. You both looked at each other and went, Belle of the Ball.
Boom.
All right, so let's talk about it. What are we tasting when we taste the Belle of the Ball?
Okay, once again, a spin on the classic French 75 LB Forged Gin.
Oh, okay, a French 75 has gotten really popular in the past few years, right?
Very popular. So you have your Forged Gin, you have lemon juice, homemade lavender simple syrup, and topped with Prosecco.
Okay, so let's just back up. Homemade lavender simple syrup. How do you make that?
So you blanch some lavender seeds and put some
lavender
sugar.
seeds.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Let them steep overnight. Then it has a nice little.
See, I always feel like I'm really doing something if I just put some pineapple chunks in vodka and set it on the counter for a few days.
You
Look
are.
at what I'm doing. but I've never blanched lavender seeds and let them overnight.
Then drank them.
You know, so I'm gonna have an issue if my wife watches this show.
Yeah.
We're gonna be up here this weekend. She's gonna be like, I have to try
her style
this.
of drink, isn't it?
Yeah, she'll be
so
100% on that.
What kind of gin did you say this is?
Ford's gin.
Mm-hmm.
Ford's is a very, very good gin.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. That's also very refreshing. I mean, here you start with a couple of things that are really perfect summer drinks because they've got such a refreshing quality to them. And again, two that I would say it'd be easy to just down these
Your
very, very quickly.
beverage coordinator has a great palate for not making things too sweet.
Yeah.
Because a lot of
Very
these,
well balanced drinks.
a lot of times cocktails, and depending on where you get them, sometimes they're just so sweet. It's
I
just,
agree.
You can't get it out of your mouth for a while. You know.
They'll use so much of the simple syrup, or they'll use some sweeter things in the mix that really do. You're right, kind of leave you with that feeling. But neither of these drinks are that way. They're wonderfully tart, and yet there's still that sweetness that cuts it, so it doesn't become like a sour sort of a thing. It's not like an amaretto sour or a lemonade or something. Right, exactly. Well, that's absolutely. So walk me through this again. Forged gin.
A little bit of lavender simple syrup.
Lavender simple syrup. You've got some in your cabinet at home. Just use that.
Yeah, of course.
Lemon juice.
Lemon juice and top with a little bit of Prosecco.
A little bit of Prosecco.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That is outstanding.
It really is. The Prosecco gives it a little fizz and gives it that, that refreshing quality.
Yes.
Wow.
Very good, dangerous drinks.
Yes, very much so. So, all right, I tell you what. You're here. Let's try this third one. That way we don't have to keep you too long.
Yeah, because you still have to work.
Yeah, because you do.
Unfortunately,
you do
yes.
have to work for a living.
So
This one
Look
is,
how beautiful that is.
and I want to just really show this to the camera. That is gorgeous. Like it almost looks like a lava lamp. Is what it looks like. What is this one called?
So that's our All the King's Soldiers.
All the King's Soldiers. I love this idea already.
Classic New York sour.
Okay,
The twist.
It's a
Now,
New York sour.
is this a sipper or a straw or what's the best way to
Say
approach this?
a sipper.
You didn't
A sipper.
you didn't
Yeah.
serve with a straw, so
Yeah.
I'm
That's
assuming
usually
it's
a
meant to
sipper
be
drink,
sipped.
yeah.
Right.
Okay, all right. So
And is this
Egg white.
Okay,
So if
so
you're
then
allergic to
you
eggs,
do it-
please don't drink that.
so you do it like a gin fizz kind of. You just shake it.
Yeah, shake
Until it's-
shake.
and this
shake
is
the
All
heck
the
out
King's
of it.
Horses. Is that what you said?
All the King's Soldiers.
All the King's Soldiers.
Man,
okay.
look how cool that looks.
Yeah, that is a beautiful cocktail.
Delicious.
Beautiful cocktail. And we're losing straws there. That was the last straw.
That was
No,
the-
wait, there's one more.
This is the last straw.
I just wanted to say that. It sounded very.
This cruise is the
It
last
sounded
straw.
very
Little egg in
action
your
movie.
mustache.
Yeah.
Okay, I just lost the last straw.
Okay, so now this one strikes me as a more, although it's again very easy to drink, but it strikes me as a little more spirit forward than the last two. Would you say?
Well, this has a very whiskey forward flavor to it. And
Very much so.
it's funny because it's very
Pretty.
friendly looking and pretty, yes. Almost frou-frou looking, but
Yes.
I'm not afraid to hold it
So,
because I know it's whiskey.
so how do you make this one?
So that one is actually one of my favorites because it has my favorite bourbon, which is Bullet.
It's
yeah.
hard to not like Bullet.
Exactly. So you have some regular Bullet, Frontier, with some lemon juice, egg white, some homemade turbinado syrup, and top with some red wine.
Oh, with red wine, and
That's
I can
what's giving
taste
it
that
the-
in there
yeah,
now.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, very, very interesting.
Cool. I
So-
noticed you're stacking these up in front of me. What are you trying to say?
Well, you are the man with the wireless
Are you
mic.
giving me
so-
a ride later?
Yeah. So, Chastity, let me ask you this: when you're obviously making these is what you're doing for your job. So you're behind the bar. People are ordering these things. You're making them up. You're serving them. Now, let's say you're off work. You go out with your girlfriends. Are you going to drink cocktails? Are you going to drink spirits? Are you a beer person? What?
So I am actually a very, as you say, basic person when it comes to my drinking.
Yeah.
I drink Bud Light and I drink rye on the rocks.
Well, we'll applaud you for the rye on the rocks.
We're on a rock.
I do Bullet Rye on the rocks and
Bullet
Bud
Rye
Light.
on the rocks. That's tough to argue with. Well, these are absolutely delicious. And you mentioned that your beverage director, basically came up with the recipes for these. How long does it take you, as the bartender, to perfect making them? In other words, how many did you make before you went, okay, I got it?
Okay, so I actually I perfected all of them except for that one the first couple weeks.
Except for all the King Soldiers.
Yes, because I was putting far too much wine in it, and she caught me one day, and Monique is very vocal when you're doing something bad. She's like, Chastity, what is this? And eventually I got a hang of it, and now they're flawless.
Wow. Well, all three of these are spectacular. All very different from each other, and absolutely spectacular. How many specialty cocktails are on your menu? I mean, obviously, I can come and order a martini or a margarita or something like that, but how many things do you have specialty cocktail-wise on the menu?
We have 8 specialty cocktails.
Okay, wow. That's going to keep us busy for a while, Ian.
Well, we're 3 down.
We're 3 down.
I'm at the bar right now,
All
so
right.
you can come try them.
All right. Well, Chastity, thank you. We appreciate you doing this and being on the show.
Thank you so much.
By all means, finish those.
Last question. If you're a friend of mine, and I know that you know how to make great cocktails, and I invite you over to the house for a party, and there's people all over the place, is it bad form to ask you if you would get back and mix up something wonderful?
That happens almost every single party I go to.
But is it bad form?
Not at all.
I would think it would be. It'd be like, you don't want to bring the.
I know you're off work, but do you mind working
over?
It's
Well, you don't wanna
different
bring the
because I can
doctor
just, drink. And the drinks don't have to be too perfect if I'm out with my friends.
Right. So what you're saying is we're not like stepping over a line somewhere.
Absolutely
If
not.
they go,
And most
"Hey,
times
would you
I'll just
mind
put a
making
tip jar out
something?"
there anyway. So, it works
see,
out at the end.
Well,
That's
Chastity,
awesome. It's not bad for him to ask.
That's right.
If you don't mind, I put a tip jar out.
Yeah, that's right.
Exactly.
That's right.
Available
Yeah.
for weddings, anything.
I love it. Well, these are fantastic. We will enjoy drinking the rest of these. And thank you so much for showing us what these drinks are about.
Thank you, guys.
We're doing specialty cocktails at B&B Lemon, and we haven't gotten to the beers yet, so we're going to try some Stone Tropic Thunder Lager in our next segment.
That sounds awesome.
Plus, we'll be telling you about some place that I think, Ian, we're going to have to plan a road trip to. The Museum of Beer is opening in San Diego.
That sounds
And
awesome.
we're very excited. So we'll get to that coming up. It's Smoking and Toasting, show number 133. We'll be right back. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. It's show number 133. We are brought to you by B&B Butchers and Restaurant at 1814 Washington Ave in Houston, in the shops at Clear Fork in Fort Worth, and we are live today at B&B's Pub, which is B&B Lemon, right across the street. Yeah, from the Houston location.
As a matter of fact, I'm looking through the front door and I can see the B&B Butcher sign right there.
So there's bacon in the vicinity, basically.
So they have Parmesan bacon here. Then they have the Chef Tommy's bacon. They have the lamb bacon.
And they've got that crazy 3 bacon appetizer, too.
Yeah, that's
at
just
B&B. So, yeah.
Bacon is so good.
Amazingly. So we're out on the patio. There is an outdoor area out here. It's actually nice when the breeze blows. It's a little humid here today because we had some rain earlier. But it's very nice out here. And then the inside of the pub is great as well.
I'd like to clarify that statement for anybody watching this show that's not in Texas. It's a little humid today because we had rain earlier. Most places, when it rains, it cools down.
It clears that humidity out? Yeah, not so much.
Not here. When
Yeah,
it rains
so much.
here, it's just hotter
Yes,
and
that's
more
right.
humid.
And more humid. But we're here because this is what we do. So we'll sacrifice and drink
We're
the
taking
cocktails.
this one for the team.
Yes, that's right. We'll sacrifice and drink the cocktails. Ian, we didn't mention, you mentioned this in the break, but we haven't talked yet about what you and I did on Saturday. You and your wife, my wife and I, and Adam, our producer, and his wife, all attended the Houston Whiskey Social for 2019. And I was just curious your thoughts about the social, what you...
Well, I'd like to address one thing that Christopher Hart posted earlier. He said, "Did you guys have fun? I hardly even saw you guys." Well, first off, Chris, you were running around like a madman taking care of anything. And if you
it's work
think
for him,
back,
right?
And if you think back to every time you had a bottle in your hand and you were pouring, I was there. I was there.
With Glenn
I
Cairn
might have just been a
outstretched.
glass in the crowd,
Yes,
but I
that's
was
right.
there, I promise.
Well, one of the great things about the social is, in addition to having all of the booths with the whiskeys, and there were some rums, and there were a couple of breweries, but in addition to all those places you could go and get a drink, if you watched for Chris to come walking through the crowd, he would have bottles in his hand and would be pouring them into people's glasses. And at one point he walked by and I go, "Oh, what is this?" He goes, "Oh, it's a Pappy," and went on to describe how rare the particular bottle of Pappy was that he had with him, but it was a Pappy Van Winkle, and honestly, it may have been the greatest thing I tasted the whole time we were there. It was amazing.
There were so many good things there. I can't believe what a beautifully affordable way to try. There's hundreds of whiskeys there, and there's rums, and there's other things as well, and then they have food, and they have cigars, and they have all these other things. And I think how much were the VIP tickets were 150.
I think that's right.
Somewhere in that range.
I could be.
It doesn't even matter if they and they weren't. They were much cheaper than this. But if they were $200, you would have to be standing still inside that place, facing the wall to not get your money's worth.
Oh, absolutely. I'll tell you, the Diplomatico rum table.
Oh yeah,
was one of the first places I went. My wife loves rum. And so I said, let's find you some rum, because we were surrounded by whiskey. And she's okay with whiskey, but she prefers rum. So we go to the Diplomatico table, and they had all these different bottles here, these different iterations. Of course, I immediately went to what I believe was a 26-year. It was the most aged rum that they had there. And
right to the top.
Yeah, when we started right at the top, tasted it. It was absolutely amazingly fantastic. And I'm going to get the number wrong, but I asked the girl who was pouring there at the table what the retail price of the bottle was, and it was between $300 and $500. I don't remember the exact number now.
Yeah.
How much? $560. Adam remembers. So I was wrong. It was more than $500 a bottle if you were to buy this rum. Now, the chances of me going into the store and actually, especially if I hadn't tried it, plunking that kind of money down for a bottle of rum are pretty slim. And yet there I was, and there I came back again to the table and tried more later, more
and
than
it's still
once,
there.
And it's still there. And I thought, I am so getting, like, if you were having this poured for you at a bar, it would easily be a $70, $80, $90 pour.
Yeah.
And yet there we were getting our money's worth in basically one time.
It's amazing. Or one time with Chris walking around with whatever he's pouring. Like that it was amazing. And then on top of that, so when you pay to get in, you get a ticket and you get a cigar. So you go outside to the cigar tent, and they had this great big patio area set up. They had cigars for sale out there. They had the Houston Whiskey Show social cigars that we talked about last week.
The one they did with Room 101, Matt Booth, and Stogies, yes.
They had some Olivas. Why do I always do that? Olivas for sale. Trenton was there. He's so awesome. Jorge was there. We got an interview with Matt Booth from Room 101.
Right, which we'll be passing along in a future episode.
It was super exciting.
Matt was great. He really liked you, by the way.
He apparently liked me a lot. I told him we're going to have to take a picture and put it up and just say Matt Booth Lakes Bears.
Yeah.
And just leave it like that. But you'll know what I'm talking about when you see the interview, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. So we had such a blast there, and I'm just watching people. No one's unhappy. Everyone's happy.
It is a room full of happiness. And if you think about that,
even Alan Denny, with the one guy I saw that got sick, Alan Denny handled that with aplomb and didn't look unhappy.
Oh yeah, and I just want to say for the record, and I realize that no one really cares about him, but I do. I think Alan's awesome, and he's done a lot to help support our show. In addition to trying to crash it and be on more times than Chris, he's also done a lot. He's introduced us to a lot of great people.
Yeah,
helped us get back to a nice isolated room to be able to talk to Matt Booth for a few minutes.
That was really nice. Yeah,
and Alan's just he's a solid guy. And by the way, his company makes great cigars, EP Carrillo. So
yeah, it's hard to fault that, right?
Yeah, it really is.
I
had a blast, and I will say this again. We've said it before. Easily, the Houston Whiskey Social is the best beverage event that I've been to.
It's absolutely outstanding.
Yeah.
And, like I said, I can't believe how affordable it is. I think, like I said, the tickets are like the VIP tickets. You get extra time and some extra stuff. They have speakers and all kinds of other stuff going on. Also, speaking of speakers, not people that speak, but I had to applaud Chris. I walked up to him at one point in time. I said, thank you so much for whoever you hired to do the sound. They brought great sounding speakers. Yeah. I can't stand it when I go to an event and the sound
and the music sounds like crap.
Sucks.
Yeah.
No, these guys were all top end speakers, The music, the ambient music sounded great. It was easy to hear everybody on the PA. They did,
and you didn't have to shout to be heard if you were having a conversation.
It was really, really well done. The whole flow of the thing, like the flow from when you walked in the door. Now it gets a little tight getting through the door because everyone's really eager to get in. Once you get past the last person that gives you the ticket for the cigar, once you get past that, I mean, the room opens up. They had a whole separate room in the back for food, and then they had the Texas room right off to the left.
Yeah, and it was all Texas craft, small distillery craft whiskeys, and boy, are there. Chris talked about this on the show last week. There's great things happening with Texas craft
whiskey is becoming a hell of a thing.
It really is.
I'm so excited about
people
it.
talk about Tennessee whiskey.
Yeah.
I'm starting to be excited about Texas whiskey.
Yeah, we had some great ones, and then so this year, as opposed to other ones, we were talking about it earlier. I approached it a little different because I've tried a lot of these whiskeys before. So I didn't drink any of the things that I already had previously tried. I just tried new stuff.
Yes.
And or special stuff, and I still would have gotten way more than my money's worth.
Yes, absolutely. And that's the crazy thing is, like, you don't have to hit every table in order to get your money's worth. You can actually be selective.
Or you'd be like
in
that
choosing,
one guy that I saw that he didn't make it.
Well, there's got to be.
He got Ubered out.
One of my favorite moments, by the way, I don't know if you saw this or not. I don't think you were in my vicinity at that time, but I got to see Wade Woodard, the Tater Talk whiskey expert, riding the bicycle that powered the blender. They were making some what tasted like pina coladas, but they were made with monkey shoulder.
You do know you have a camera on there, right?
Yeah, I know. I was
like, what were you thinking?
Well, my hands were full. I had some rum in one hand and one of the pina coladas in the other.
That's the perfect time to go. Yeah, hold my beer. Watch this.
You're so right, and I stand corrected. I really do.
I would kill for a picture of Wade on the machine.
It was actually wonderful, and to be honest, my wife, being the sharper of our two, actually was going for hers, but he got off the bike too soon.
Next time, Wade. Next time we'll catch you.
Yeah, no, we're getting it next time.
No,
Wade.
He's so fun. Him and Gene Beck.
Oh yeah.
Gene Beck is just a character in the scene, and is he a character.
Ian, I'm reaching back into my bag o' tricks here. Would you mind holding that? I know it has a wire.
It's so heavy and weird, and I feel bogged down and tethered.
You realize that you are being repetitive. You know that, right? I brought out the Tropic Thunder.
This is all brought from the fact that I bought this wireless unit for my microphone, and now I am so free and wonderful.
Yes. It's that almost sounded like an ad for feminine hygiene products.
You ever get that not so clean feeling?
That not so free and wonderful feeling?
So it's not so fresh feeling.
Yes. So we've cracked open, and Ian's going to do the pour on this. We've cracked open the Stone Tropic Thunder Lager, and I'll say this about Stone. I've never had. There's certainly some Stone products I've liked more than others. I've never had one that I didn't think was fantastic. These guys have a track record that only maybe, I don't know, Dogfish Head, a few other select breweries have been able to accomplish. And Ian's making sure we get some of that in the hands of our producer on the Wheels of Steel, Adam, and then showing the can to Stone Tropic Thunder. I don't know, Ian, if this is for a limited time. I don't believe it is a seasonal. I'm hoping it's not. But we'll see. So, all right. As you bring this back, let's do a little research, shall we?
I'm waiting on you, Mr. Eric. How you doing?
It's very citrusy on the nose.
We're good at the moment. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Yeah, we are sampling some nice beer, and I will say, service here at B&B Lemon.
Yes, Mr. Eric is taking care of us.
Totally taking care of us. Yes, thank you. Take care of Eric if you come in.
I love the shirt with the little flying lemon stitched on it.
Yes,
That's pretty awesome. A lemon with
we'll
wings.
Have to show that. I am hoping, by the way, that Jeremiah makes it in before the end of the show to hang with us a little bit and talk about B&B Lemon.
Stone has done it again.
Yeah, so this says on the can, it says, maroon yourself. Imagine you set sail for a 3-hour tour Let's say from the port of Escondido,
tour.
work with us here. The weather started getting rough. Your tiny ship, but not lunch, thankfully, was tossed. Long story short, you're marooned on a remote island somewhere near the Tropic of Thunder. The good news is the captain of the SS Stone and her brewing kit, among the small cast of colorful characters that survived the rough voyage with you.
3-hour tour.
So in a lager, Ian, they've used Citra and Mosaic hops along with Cashmere, which is one of the newer strains of hops, and they've made a juicy lager is about the best way I can describe it.
It's a little hard to describe because it drinks like an IPA, but it doesn't finish like an IPA.
Right.
It does have kind
Finishes
of a
like a
lemony
lager.
finish for a lager, but in a great way.
But can I say not lemon pledge? Remember we talked about this? Well, with last week's IPA that we tried, there were things about it I really liked, but the finish was not lemon, but lemon furniture polish.
Do you know what I liked about that one?
About the juicy IPA last?
Yeah, nothing. I didn't like that one at all.
But Ian, you like everything. That's what I've
do
read
like
in
everything.
the 1/3 of one review that I've read about the show. Is that you like everything on the show?
I liked it a whole bunch.
Yeah, you didn't like it at all.
I actually didn't like that at all.
No, yeah.
This
Now,
is,
but I will say, and it just goes to show you how palates are different.
Yeah.
You didn't like it at all. I liked it to a point, but it easily wasn't my favorite. Chris Hart, who was with us, loved it.
Yeah.
He was all a fan of it. So,
and Alan was in my camp. He was
yeah,
like, "No,
well,
I don't want
Alan's not
anything
an
to do with
IPA
that."
guy. So, but I think it just goes to show you why reviews can be so subjective. The other day, I smoked a cigar that I was thinking about reviewing on the show that I loved. I thought it was terrific, and I went online and read a couple of reviews of it, and they were like, meh. I was like, did they even smoke the same cigar I smoked? I thought it was terrific. So it just goes to show you how different palates can be and how what strikes one person doesn't necessarily always strike the other.
True.
So
True that.
we do try generally on the show to review things that we think we'll like, but in the case of the Stone Tropic Thunder Lager, I think we've achieved it. This is 5.8%. So for Stone, that may be one of the lightest beverages they've ever brewed.
That's pretty heavy for a lager.
For a lager, yes, you're right. Lagers are generally in the 4 vicinity.
Stone did it again. In typical fashion, I don't know that there's anything from Stone that I don't like. They're always so big, but they're always... No, I'm still working on that. Thank you, sir. They're always big. They're always balanced. They're always... just outstanding for what they do. And I don't know how they do it because they make so many IPAs, which I just don't like as much as you do.
Well, right. Between the two of us here, I'm more prone to like the IPAs. You're more prone to like the barley ones. But there are some IPAs you really love.
You're a little bit country and I'm a little bit rock and roll. That's what we're saying.
I didn't realize I was the country one.
I love doing that too.
I didn't realize I was the country one. How about this? You're a little bit trap. I'm a little bit drum and bass.
Noted. Okay.
I think I used two very obscure references. Well, not obscure. It depends who you're talking to. Yeah. All right, we'll just move on.
You're more conga. I'm more cajon.
Oh, there you go. I like that. See, that works.
How about that?
And I will not be singing and dancing at any point during the show. I promise you that. Besides being delicious, tequila may help you lose weight.
I'm going on that diet.
I'm excited about this. Yeah. So we'll talk about that coming up. Plus, as I mentioned, Beverly Hills voting to exempt cigar lounges from their tobacco sale ban. So we'll give you a little bit of the information on that. And also coming up on the show, we're going to be tasting the El Segundo Brewing Surfin' Bird Double IPA, which
Surfin' Bird.
I mentioned. If it said the bird is the word on the label anywhere, I would not have brought it on the show. I would have just given it to a neighbor or something.
You're sticking that song in my head.
Then I apologize because that's really a thing that should never be done to another human being, as far as I'm concerned. It's like giving you tickets to a Cardi B concert.
Right. That's
it should
not
never
a friendly
happen.
thing.
It should never happen.
Like on the surface, it looks like you're doing something nice.
All right, so I tell you what, we'll take a break. We'll come back and do a little more tasting and tell you a little bit more about what's going on. And by the way, I haven't talked about this yet, but this Southern Draw, Cedrus, wow,
that's a good cigar.
So I'll give you a little more info on that. Coming up next, you are checking out Smoking and Toasting. Thank you. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting, episode number 133. And, Oh, yeah, sound effect time. I like that. So Ian's popping open the Bird is the Word double IPA from El Segundo Brewing. While that's happening, let me tell you about the Beverly Hills Health and Safety Commission, tasked by the City Council to study and develop a proposal that could ban the sale of all tobacco products in the city of Beverly Hills, voted last Monday to exempt cigar lounges from any kind of a measure like this by a vote of 4-1. So they voted to carve out the existing cigar lounges when they finalize the tobacco sales law. So there are 3 of them.
I just want to point out the real news here, because sometimes you have the news and then you can read behind the news and see what the real actual news is. Mm-hmm. The real news here is someone in California has sense.
Yeah, and amazingly, because I wasn't expecting it in a place where they're trying to ban all tobacco.
Said, because I don't mean that about all Californians. I mean that about, any of the government of California.
Let me expand on what you said here, Ian, because I think this is important. This is a quote from Gary Ross, who is the chairman of the commission, and Ian's going to show the Surfin' Bird double IPA bottle there, which we'll get to that tasting in a moment. Gary Ross is the chairman of the committee that is working on this tobacco sales ban in Beverly Hills. Let me read you what he said, Ian, because you'll find this interesting. He says, I believe in a total exemption for the 3 existing cigar lounges based on their unique role in the city, based on the fact that they only cater to adults, based on the fact they don't sell cigarettes, based on the fact they don't cater to children and don't even let children in, based on the fact they leave a very small footprint. They're very noticeable. And as 2 people said today, if we're going after the cigar clubs, we're not being effective at eliminating the things from people that we're trying to keep them from, which is our children, ultimately. Someone in California actually figured out that children don't smoke premium cigars.
I'm really surprised by that.
That they figured that out?
You're not surprised that children don't smoke premium cigars? Yeah, well, they figured it out. It's that they actually had intelligence and information and used it properly.
Yeah, I know. It's amazing. So here's a guy who's the head of the committee that's supposed to be working on a tobacco sales ban, and he actually had common sense when it came to premium cigars. If only the FDA could follow suit. If only the FDA. By the way, the 3 cigar lounges that are excluded, Nazareth's Fine Cigars, the Grand Havana Room, which, by the way, is a very swanky sort of uptown Beverly Hills type
swanky
place. Yeah, and the Buena Vista Cigar Club.
That place is so cool.
We've done a live show from, had a wonderful time, and we will be back at if we are visiting Los Angeles
the
again
owners there were so
anytime
nice.
soon.
So nice.
So I'm thrilled that they will not have to close down, because that would have shut them down. Not being able to sell tobacco products would have shut those guys down. So thrilled that that's no longer a thing. Yes, sir. Thank you. So, Ian, the Surfin' Bird double IPA is from El Segundo Brewing. El Segundo is in California, and it says, we are stoked to get to work with a brewery that inspired us back when El Segundo Brewing was just a dream in a garage. The Surfin' Bird was drawn by legendary SoCal surf artist Steve Nazar, and you showed this to the camera earlier, famous for the Thrilla Crew. This hop combo of Citra, Laurel, and Idaho 7 will hit you like a double overload. South Swell. Oh, my God. I didn't read the last 4 words.
Uh-oh.
It says bird is the word. I totally would not have brought... I swear to you I didn't make this up. Like, I didn't read all the way to the end of that paragraph. I was looking for... Oh, well. So
you did this to yourself.
No, I did. I have no one to blame but myself. Pizza Port Brewing Company, Pizza Port, just like it sounds, and El Segundo Brewing teamed up for this, and now I'm going to have to really steel myself.
So I have to tell you, the fact that they put bird as a word on there is a little too obvious. Mm-hmm. It's a little less than clever, but it's hilarious for our purposes today.
Yes, it is.
That's a damn good IPA.
I got to tell you, I have to admit that it is. I see. Now I wanted not to like it Because it said "bird is the word."
That is a damn good IPA. That is,
and it's a double too.
Yes, and you can taste it, and it's got that malty, like right in the middle profile, and then finishes with that hoppy snap, but with a little dankness that's real good and doesn't leave you dry. And
it's not a juicy by any means, but it's got a certain amount of that. The Citra hops, I think, give it a certain amount of citrusy vibe, and you're right. It doesn't leave you with that
it's thick,
resiny thing, though.
It is viscous for an IPA.
You're right. It's thick for an IPA. Normally, IPAs are a little... Well, and it does come in a bomber, so... they're not necessarily advertising this as something you're going to be crushing by the beach on the weekend.
At 8%,
yeah,
you don't want to...
Despite the fact that it's the Surfin' Bird and the bird.
Trust me,
apparently.
at 8%, one bottle's enough.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's a double IPA, but this is really interesting, and I'm excited about how many of the smaller breweries. El Segundo is a very small California brewery. Pizza Port, I wasn't even familiar with them before picking up this bottle. But I'm excited about how many of these smaller breweries are collaborating. I find these collaborations to be very interesting. And there are some people who believe, I was reading an article about this earlier this week, there are some people who believe that it's the future of the craft brewing movement is the collaborations between different different breweries.
Well, it's a beautiful part of the market because, you've got all these breweries that create their own, flagships for the brewery.
Sure, yeah.
Most breweries will have, at all times, they'll have an IPA and something on the lighter side and something usually on the maltier side.
Mm-hmm.
And then they'll have some experiments beyond that. But when you get these collaborations, you have some breweries that are better at, say, maltier beers and some breweries that are better at hoppier beers.
Right. You take Stone, for example. They're a hoppy beer brewery. That's what they do.
Very much. And when you start blending these things together and you get all these ideas, and I can only imagine what the meetings to figure out what we're going to brew are going to be like. I bet that is a blast.
I bet they are, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And you got to figure that the brewmasters take great pride in being able to bring their signature to the collaboration.
Absolutely.
They would have to. They would
Absolutely. And creating something that really reflects both breweries.
And we're seeing this in the cigar industry, too.
Yes. With AJ Fernandez blending for everybody.
Right. Particularly for, Monte Cristo and H. Upman and some of the others. But we're also seeing some other smaller level collaborations coming about. And I think it's a very healthy thing.
Speaking of AJ Fernandez, this cigar is outstanding. I love the feel of this. This is a...
Now... I'd given you this is the New World.
The New World
from AJ Fernandez that I believe is the Toro. And are you finding it to be full bodied the way that I have?
Yes, this is definitely skipped the line just into full body. I wouldn't say it's the biggest part of full body, but it's right.
It's not
there.
A diesel, but it's definitely a step above the sort of medium to full that I smoke regularly.
The burn on this is perfect the entire way. I'd use the punch. I don't know if the camera can see that. I almost always default to a punch, and not for any reason other than I'm a little lazy. And a lot of the lighters that I have a punch built in.
Right, into the
so
bottom,
that just means one less thing I carry in my pocket.
Mm-hmm.
And so I always try a punch first. And then the nice thing about a punch on a cigar is a small, round, perfectly round hole. You don't get a lot of tobacco in your mouth, those kinds. It's real clean. But if your draw isn't perfect that way, you can always follow it up with a clip and see if that opens it up. And I've had to do that a couple times, and usually it fixes the problem. This I did with a punch. The draw was perfect. I love the appearance of this cigar. The wrapper's a little kind of toothy, oily. The severe squareness of it. I love that. It's like the
what you might call an extreme box
press. It's an extreme box press. And it is just smoking outstanding. And the interesting thing about the profile on this is the profile was a little bit lighter on the initial light. Most cigars are usually a little bigger on the initial light.
Mm-hmm.
This one was a little lighter on the initial light and then developed
kind of
more.
Builds as it goes.
Built into it.
Yeah.
And has just been a wonderful. There is an oaky richness to this, a dryness to the finish that I really like. Goes great with all the beers we're having, even with the IPA.
Now you know why I'm a fanboy.
Right, and
because AJ knows what he's doing. He really does.
He does.
I will tell you that of all the cigar blenders that I've smoked, enough cigars to be a big enough sample. I think he's been the most consistent.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons that I'm a fanboy. And when I say most consistent, it just simply means that I'm almost sure when I take one of AJ's cigars and clip the end of it that I'm going to enjoy the smoke I'm about to light. You know?
Speaking of AJ, I almost put one in the humidor. I had one of the big Man of War Solomons, or Ruination Solomons.
Yes.
And I love that cigar. As big and ridiculous as it is, like size and flavor-wise, I absolutely love that cigar.
Yeah. It's something you want to smoke when you're like, okay, I want something full-bodied.
Yeah, it's not a first thing in the morning cigar.
No, not by any means. And it's funny because we've met a couple of people that say, yeah, you know what, I like smoking a full or medium to full first thing in the morning.
My
you
father
still don't want to go that one. Yeah,
first thing in the morning.
You still don't want to go with that one, even if that's what you like. So,
right.
Well, I have to say I'm impressed enough with the Surfin' Bird that I'm going to forgive them those 4 words that I didn't believe were there and then discovered. And you're pouring more of an IPA.
I'm going back. This is an outstanding IPA.
That should tell you a lot right there.
This is
for a double, I think it's incredibly balanced.
Yeah.
Because one of the things, I love IPAs. I lean more towards the citrusy stuff, but I will tell you that often when you get into doubles and Imperials, I find that they've gone so far into the hop territory that it's interesting to taste, but not something I want to drink regularly. This is something that, again, apart from the 4 words, I could drink regularly. You know?
But you'd have to see those 4 words.
Yes, I would have to see the 4 words.
You just have to take a Sharpie and
take
black them out.
Take a Sharpie and black them out. I could do that. I think it's good enough that I could do that. Okay, we're going to take another break. When we return, we will be tasting Fort George Brewing from Astoria, Oregon, their Russian Imperial Stout called From Astoria with Love. Plus, I'll be telling you that despite being delicious, or besides being delicious, I should say, tequila may also help you lose weight. This is a very exciting story to be able to share. So we'll be back with that. You are checking out Smoking and Toasting. We're live at B&B Lemon in Houston, Texas, and we'll be right back. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. We are so glad to have you guys hanging out with us as we are live from B&B Lemon. We are brought to you by B&B Butchers and Restaurant. We are located at 1814 Washington Avenue in Houston. B&B Lemon is right across the street from there, and B&B is also in the shops at Clear Fork in Fort Worth. We're actually hoping to have, and you never know with Jeremiah.
You never know.
We're hoping to have Jeremiah join us if he shows up in this last segment. Perhaps that will happen, but if not, we will be back at B&B in a couple of weeks. So we'll be looking forward to hanging with him and getting to do all of that. So. All right, Ian, you know, and I'm a tequila fan.
I am aware of this.
I did not know, however, that according to the American Chemical Society, tequila could actually help you shed a few pounds.
All right, lay it on me.
All right, so the natural form of sugar that's found in the agave plant, which is used to make tequila, can actually lower blood glucose levels, according to new research that was presented in a meeting of the American Chemical Society. Agavins, which is the natural form of sugar in the agave plant, are non-digestible and wind up acting as dietary fiber. They also can help you feel fuller, which could help you eat less, according to the survey. So
you're saying have tequila with every meal?
Have tequila as often as you can.
With every meal?
Yes, absolutely. Hopefully it will result in weight loss. And you know what? I am going to try it.
Don't have tequila with every meal. That's probably a bad idea.
Oh, come on. How could that be a bad idea? How could that possibly be a bad idea?
Let's see. For breakfast, I had granola and tequila. For lunch.
You say that like it's a bad thing.
2 kolaches and tequila.
We're live at B&B Lemon across the street from B&B Butchers and Restaurant in Houston, Texas. Ian is enjoying a New World by A.J. Fernandez.
I am truly enjoying it.
I am enjoying the Cedrus from Southern Draw. And I'll tell you, Ian.
How do you like that one?
This is wonderful. It's got that Maduro goodness that I so crave and enjoy in cigars. It's just got its wonderful earthiness, and it's got a little bit of woodsy vibe to it that I really
pick
enjoy.
up on that woodsy vibe in there, and I really enjoy that cigar. That's one that I pick a few up every time I go into a shop that has it.
That's interesting because Southern Draw is a fairly new brand. At least I believe it to be.
Yeah, I think they're only a few years old now.
Yeah, I think that's right. So it's interesting to try this. By the way, speaking of cigar brands and new iterations of cigars, the FDA has approved. Now, understand there's a couple of bills in front of the legislature which would exempt premium cigars from any of the FDA legislation that has been passed. Okay, so if one of those passes, we're in good shape. However, if neither of them do pass, then this winds up being interesting. Yesterday, or actually it was a couple of days ago now, the FDA proposed a new rule detailing how all tobacco product manufacturers, including cigar makers, should submit their what's called their substantial equivalence reports, but it's about bringing new products to the market. It's also opening up a public commentating period for this that has already started, will last through June 17th, to get feedback for this proposed rule. Basically, according to the new rule, which would include basics like brand name, dimensions, wrapper material, along with more ambiguous information like harmful or potentially harmful constituents without and characterizing flavors. For producers of premium handmade cigars, product approval is one of the most controversial issues with this whole legislation.
Well, yeah, they're making it
that's involved
to the point where you can't afford to approve a new cigar blend.
Lack of clear guidance, they say, costly testing, and slow turnarounds are a few of the problems that they mention when they're speaking out against the FDA's approval plans. Unfortunately, this new proposal doesn't really clarify much, and the words premium cigar aren't mentioned once in the 171-page document. In fairness, the FDA seems to understand this confusion, which is why it may have opened up the public commenting period that says, and they said in the rule, for tobacco products not specifically identified, FDA invites comments and information on the parameters that may be needed. The problem, Drew Newman, who is the general counsel for J.C. Newman Cigar Company, says the problem is that he remains very skeptical about whether it's possible to reliably test premium cigars because making premium cigars is an inherently unscientific process. And the natural variation makes it difficult to figure out a standard
Do you
testing
think maybe an ingredient label would help this?
Oh, well, certainly we know what it's done for Bud Light. Except with Bud Light, they apparently aren't even required to put all the ingredients on the ingredient label.
That's pretty amazing.
Which we've talked about.
I mean, like the ingredient label on a cigar package would be pretty small. It would say tobacco. Because that's literally what's in a cigar. It's tobacco. It's a natural product.
Right.
And it's just tobacco.
And boy, this tobacco is good. This Southern Draw, Cedrus, boy, it's good. Boy, it's good. Well, Ian, I think it's time to pass this to you, and I pass it to you with love because it's from Astoria with love.
From Astoria with love.
Right.
We're going to start off by
Brewing.
showing the camera
I
this
think you should because this is definitely worth taking a good look
Let me
at.
put it on our
It's
expensive,
a very interesting can.
expensive beer turner here.
Okay, good. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, that's how that beer turner works. Doesn't slip out of my fingers.
So Astoria, Oregon is the location for the the Fort George Brewing Company. This is their Russian Imperial Stout. That sounded really good.
That did, didn't it?
That sounded wonderful, actually. It's distributed in the Pacific Northwest, maybe hard to find in other parts of the country, but this is something that's really created quite a stir when it came out. And looking at the color of this in the cup, I'm already impressed. This just seems to be right up your alley there, my friend.
It definitely looks super classic.
Yes. So what, Ian, do you know what what does it mean if the Imperial Stout is Russian in style?
Wiki Brian, we're going to need you on this one. Save me.
Says on the can, before Matryoshka, there was a darkness, a stout that we hold dear to our hearts. From the fort to you, from Astoria with love. FortGeorgeBrewery.com from Astoria.
Did you get more than one can of this?
Actually, I have another can in my refrigerator at home. Should I be planning to gift that to you?
This is something.
Really?
Yeah, this is really special.
Interesting. So I'm going to do my first tasting here. Describe what you're getting.
I'll tell you what I'm getting right off the bat. Like the malty profile right up front is not as sweet as you would expect. This has a more burnt caramel kind of finish to it. Like burnt to the point where that's one of the most prominent flavors, but in such a good way.
It's not unpleasant at all.
No, in such a good way. The mouthfeel on this is super silky, super super full. This is, man, I want ice cream with this.
Yeah.
This is so good.
It's not, though.
It's not as sweet as you'd expect.
Yeah, I was going to say, sometimes when you get an Imperial Stout or a Porter, it almost feels like you should pour it over your ice cream because of the sweetness. This is not sweet at all. It's almost
it's
bitter like a cup of coffee would be.
Yes, and very, very much coffee notes in it as well. Especially in the aftertaste. You know, after you've swallowed and you're kind of just enjoying what's going on, that coffee kind of comes up.
Well, you're so right though about the burnt caramel.
Yeah,
that is the forward flavor.
Good, yeah.
You get it on the front,
the roasted
and then,
caramel,
and then you get it at the end.
Yeah,
but
outstanding. And this is one that that Wiki Brian, who's might actually be working right now, would absolutely love. Like this, he would go distances for this one.
Yeah, well, this is
at 9.4 too. It's pretty big.
Yeah, it is big. Honestly, it doesn't taste as big.
It's not very boozy
as 9.4.
No,
yeah,
it's not super
right.
boozy.
It's not boozy. It's not like, say, a barley wine would give you more of that sort of
boozy vibe,
head swirling booziness. So,
well, yeah, I could drink a lot of this, and drinking a lot of it would probably be a mistake. But it's,
I'm really
like flavor wise, it's just outstanding.
I'm really curious to try this. And then take a drink of this All the King's Soldiers drink.
Interesting with the wine finish on it and everything. Let's see what happens here. Drum roll, please.
So this is interesting. It almost obliterates it.
Really?
Yes. Try your beer first, and then come back to the cocktail. You get a little bit of the wine vibe that is included in this cocktail, but I lost the whiskey completely.
Yeah,
I lost the bullet completely.
It tastes like if you left an ice cube in with a half a shot of wine.
Right.
That was a pretty big flavored drink.
It was a very big drink, yes, and
in the
delicious.
First place. That's pretty funny.
It'd be interesting to see what happens.
Those are great on their own, but a little incompatible. Mm-hmm. I'm going to try it with my gin drink, though, and see what happens.
Well, that might be interesting because that's a completely other kettle of fish there.
That one cuts right through. Interestingly enough, that one with the lemon and everything.
I would expect the bullet rye to cut through.
Cuts right through. Yeah, it's funny. It just
disappears. Like you get the wine, but you get none of the bullet. When you're
that being
said,
as we said earlier too, they don't make their cocktails super boozy. The cocktails are for flavor, not for being super boozy, and which is a bonus in a lot of times because if you're out on a date and you're having a few cocktails, you want to be able to have a few, not just one.
Right. That's absolutely
awesome.
True. Yeah.
Can we have a cup of ice? Maybe ice water, please. Some water. Yeah.
It's very interesting because this stout almost feels to me like a very traditional stout. Would you agree with that?
Well, so I don't know what the designation. Stouts are big porters. Russian Imperial Stouts are big stouts. There you go. Think stout turned to 11. Thank you, Wiki Brian. So we, this is every Russian stout that I've ever had is big, and this is right up there with it. This is an outstanding beer.
Well, while you're enjoying that, let me tell you about a place that we need to put on our to-visit bucket list, Ian. San Diego, East Village. They are preparing to pay homage to that area. And San Diego, by the way, is a craft beer mecca. I
haven't been to San Diego.
I would say that in California, it's San Diego is like probably that's where Stone is, or in that general area. It's where a number of
Right.
really great craft breweries have sprung up, even going all the way back to the beginning of the craft brewing movement. And then you go up to like Oregon and Washington, and there's this whole other hotbed there on the West Coast. But San Diego will be home in the spring and summer of 2020 to the Museum of Beer.
The Museum of Beer. Now, we had a couple comments earlier on this. I'm going to try and scroll back and see. Because
right,
there are apparently there's a Museum of Beer in Pittsburgh, apparently.
That makes sense.
And there's a Museum of Beer and Brewing in Milwaukee, which, of course,
makes sense because that's where Miller is. Right. Well, the Museum of Beer in San Diego will highlight beer history, and the brewing process through high-tech, immersive, and hands-on exhibits, according to the museum. Virtual reality-based exhibits will also walk you through a brew house and a beer festival and bring you face-to-face with iconic San Diego brewers. Holograms of San Diego brewers.
That's pretty cool.
I love this idea.
That's pretty cool. You know what? That's better than my idea of the Here, Hold My Beer Museum that I had, which has been shot down time and time again, but I still think it's a pretty good idea.
Yeah, well.
I guess holograms of brewers and stuff might, beat that out. But.
Guests are supposed to learn how beer is made, styles of beer, and, of course, San Diego's place in craft beer history. There'll be self-guided installations, educational sessions, and other beer-themed activities. And, of course, you have to assume there'll be a tap room. So, that'll be...
you would have to.
That'll be something to look forward to.
They'd have to have something. Thank you very much, Eric.
Been a long time coming, they say in their press release, and they're hoping all beer lovers will visit the museum for a taste and experience of what's brewing in what they call America's finest city. There will be, by the way, an on-site beer garden. So... think about that. And an artisan pizza kitchen, by the way, as well.
Nice.
And members of the San Diego Brewers Guild will be represented with different brews there.
There's a bit of a movement been going on with the artisan pizza thing. I've noticed. There's some chains and some smaller places that are doing really fun things. I just
love the whole idea of the field trip. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the field trip is a wonderful thing. So... when you're going to a museum, say, Mom, I'm going to the museum.
I'm going to the museum. I'm going to educate myself.
That's right. And,
I will stay and read everything.
Never mind that it has a beer garden. So they're hosting an open forum where guests can learn more about this, but it is about a year away, is what we can expect from being open. So interesting that there are beer museums in other places. I would say, as a resident of Texas, I would love to see a Texas beer museum.
That was my idea. Hold my beer. Watch this.
Right.
That's a little
different sort of museum, I think. That's sort of a museum of beer drinkers is what that would be. So apparently we have decided to do a broadcast on Construction Day here at B&B Lemon. But that just goes to show you they're always working to bring things up to the next level.
They're always improving, yes.
Yeah. Always trying to improve.
There's no way to be quiet with a hole saw, by the way.
Yeah, no. It just doesn't work. So, Ian, a very interesting show today in terms of what we've tasted. The cocktails were fantastic.
Absolutely fantastic. Cassidy was so fun.
Do you have a favorite? Was the
the gin cocktail? That was the what do we call it? The Belle of the Ball.
The Belle of the Ball.
Yes.
And that's apparently their most popular cocktail.
Yes.
Here.
And so next time I come in here, I'll walk swaggeringly up to the bar and say, I'll have
the
Belle of the Ball.
Yes.
The Belle of the
that
Ball.
works. So those were great. I think we particularly enjoyed the beers today. The Tropic Thunder Lager was quite good.
Yeah, the beers were outstanding, yes.
The Surfin Bird was surprisingly wonderful. And the from Astoria with Love, Imperial Stout was pretty hard to say no to.
And I'm going to tell Brian, if I can talk you out of that other Astoria with Love, me and him are going to share that. And
all
he's
right,
going to
that sounds like a plan.
Freak out on how good that is.
That sounds like a plan. I will reserve that for you, my friend.
He deserves at least a beer from us by now.
Oh yeah, for all of the help. He's essentially the research director of the show.
That's right. He's our bat cave.
He really is. He's the big craze that Bruce Wayne has down in the back cave.
That's right.
So I do want to thank our hosts here at B&B Lemon who have been more than gracious, and want to thank Chastity for helping us out with the drinks and putting things together.
And Eric for taking care of our table.
Ian, take a look at that. You mentioned that they have a brunch.
Oh, yes, yes. So they just started
Take a look at some
brunch.
of what's on that menu before we go.
They just started a brunch here a few weeks ago, and with everything else that they serve, I'm assuming it's outstanding. They got some of the starters. They got pigs in a blanket, French onion croissant, beignets, brulee grapefruit. I have no idea what that is, but that sounds pretty intense.
Brulee. Brian, help us with brulee.
Oysters, blue crab beignets, bacon parmesan.
Well, we tried that earlier.
We had that earlier.
That was just wrong.
Pretty outstanding. They got some soups and salads that look really good.
And I will mention, I've had their oysters on the half shell here, and they're quite good. They
got bagel and lox. I love that.
See, all right. So this is a good place to be.
The croque toad, open-faced with Gruyere ham and bechamel.
Yes, I love it.
Corned beef Benedict. I'm all over that with grain mustard hollandaise.
I love it.
I'm coming in this weekend.
Yes. It's a great place to visit. And, the cocktails alone, we only tried 3. They had, what did she say, 8 or 9 signature cocktails here?
Yeah.
So a lot to try.
Check this out.
A lot to sample.
Crawfish hash with poached eggs and blackened hollandaise.
What's not to like?
Yeah.
What's not to like?
You're not going to lose weight on that, though. You're going to have to drink tequila with it to
I
balance it.
Get the tequila. That'll balance it out. I'm sure they can help you out with some good tequila. I want to say thanks to Adam on the Wheels of Steel for setting up the broadcast this week. We appreciate it. Next week, we'll be in the studio, and our guest will be Jared Himstead from Balcones Whiskey.
Oh, I'm excited about that.
Now, Jared was going to be on the show a little bit earlier, but had a sort of an interesting and unfortunate incident that kept him from being able to be on when he was scheduled the first time. And I'm going to leave it up to him whether he wants to tell the story or not. So maybe we'll get him to tell that story next week. Of course, some more great beers and things to try. And special thanks again to Jeremiah and to Brian, the manager here at B&B Lemon. And everyone here has been also very accommodating and wonderful.
Good things to come for Smoking and Toast. And thanks again to Chris Hart and Alan Denny for the Houston Whiskey Social. You guys provide a platform for us to make so many contacts and keep our show going and introduce us to so many people. So we walked around and talked to a lot of the distillers at the show. We've got a whole pocket load of contacts to follow up on over the next bunch of months. That's
Absolutely.
Gonna be really nice.
And coming up in a couple of weeks, Matt Booth from Room 101 will talk tobacco with us, and we'll talk about why he was just so incredibly fond of Ian.
That was pretty funny.
Yeah.
Also, last shout out, I am doing the MS 150 this year. For those of you that have already donated, thank you so much. Those donations are still open until the end of April. And if you go by the New Potato and have any of the Bell's beer, $1 of that per beer will be going into my donation fund as well. I set a goal of $5,000. I believe I'm at $125 right now. So if anybody out there is
you got a ways to go, but
going to the MS 150 fund, that'd be great. And I've been training, and I'm doing a pretty comfortable 50 miles right now. And
you're doing good.
I've got the rest of the month to do more training.
Well, Ian, I wish you well for that, and I will be donating to the cause as well.
Thank you so much.
Looking forward to that. And we want to thank again all the folks at B&B Lemon, and we wish you the best. Have a wonderful week, my friends, and cheers.
Cheers.